The time is 6:15. Here is the news, edited by Dilni Gunawardana, read by Victor Raj. Here are the headlines of the local news. Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardana expresses hope that a positive response can be expected regarding the second tranche of the IMF bailout. Asian Development Bank is urged to initiate new projects on renewable energy, digitalization and public transport systems. The online safety bill was tabled in the Parliament. Over 1,000 household units will be built for the residents of the underprivileged settlements in the Western Province. A committee will be appointed to recommend an appropriate mechanism to prevent child begging. Foreign news, Nobel Prize 2023 in Physics awarded to a trio for research on electrons in flashes of light. Sports news, tennis. Australian Open Grand Slam extends to 15 days in bid to avoid late finishes. Details of the local news. Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardana expresses hope that a positive response can be expected regarding the second tranche of the IMF bailout during this week. The government is planning to improve the foreign exchange further. The IMF has guided the island to prepare a specific process to restore the economy. No country spends most of the tax income earned to pay remunerations and pensions. The minister rejected the allegations aimed at the politicians on destroying the country. Public financial management is a long-lasting process. The Parliament is responsible for the financial management of the country. The budget gap has increased since the state revenue has not increased sufficiently. The minister pointed out that therefore the IMF is still not satisfied. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardana, while thanking the Asian Development Bank for the assistance provided to agriculture, rural, small and medium sectors and other development projects, urged the regional funding agencies to initiate new projects on areas such as renewable energy, digitalization and public transport systems, especially the railways. He said this when ADB Country Director Takafumi Cardono called on him at the Prime Minister's office in Colombo today. The Prime Minister thanked the ADB for extending support to Sri Lanka for economic stabilization after an unprecedented economic crisis. Mr. Takafumi Cardono briefed the Prime Minister about the ADB's mid-term and long-term projects for economic progress and infrastructure development. The ongoing projects cover areas such as strengthening public financial management and governance, foster private sector development and improve access to public services and deepened inclusion, social protection, equitable access, health, climate and agricultural modernization. He said that ADB governing board members will arrive in Sri Lanka to study the progress of projects and to inquire into the areas of future projects for which the Prime Minister's proposals for new projects could be considered. The online safety bill was tabled in Parliament today by the Public Security Minister Tiranalas. According to the bill, a commission of 5 individuals appointed by the President will be empowered to block any social media account, prosecute, fine and even imprison individuals. The debate on the Civil Procedure Code amended bill regulations under the Mediation Special Categories of Disputes Act and the order under the Judicature were also taken up for debate. Minister Vijaydas Rajapaksa said that these reforms would otherwise the minor claim court to try cases below 20 lakhs. This will prevent delays in hearing cases. It will also make possible to obtain the copies of the lawsuits. MP Lakshman Kiriyala said that it is inappropriate to influence the judiciary. Although the 19th Amendment had its own defects, it established the independence of the judiciary. Certain acts submitted have been rejected by the Supreme Court. The 20th Amendment was deprived the supremacy of the law. MP Mahindanand Alutgamage pointed out that the government loses an income of 500 million due to the defects in the prevailing tax system. MP GLPiri said that the judges should not be criticized in the parliament in order to keep up the dignity of the judiciary. Minister Mahinda Amaravira highlighted that the country should adhere to a proper election system. The government does not have the slightest intention of postponing the upcoming elections. He emphasized that the government is not afraid of elections either. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Continuing with more local news, 1,196 household units will be built for the residents of the underprivileged settlements in the Western Province. This will be supported by the Chinese government. China has agreed to provide 550 million yuan for this project. Land development and providing necessary infrastructure facilities will be done by the Sri Lankan government. The Cabinet of Ministers has approved signing the relevant agreement. A committee will be appointed to recommend an appropriate mechanism to prevent child begging. The committee will consist of MPs, children and women police units and other relevant parties. This is coordinated by the National Child Protection Authority. This decision was taken at the Ministerial Consultative Committee on Women, Child Affairs and Social Empowerment chaired by the State Minister Geetha Kumar Singha. That ends local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
Sri Lanka Customs have seized a large consignment of illegal drugs inside a container at the Rank container terminal in Orugodavatta. There, the officers of Sri Lanka Customs have found 35 kilograms of hashish stocked inside the container. The apprehension was made during a combined search operation conducted by the officers of Sri Lanka Customs together with the Sri Lanka Ports Authority. That came to you on Main News Story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
Moving on to Watchlight, the Meteorology Department has issued an amber warning for heavy rains in southern province as well as in Kaluthara, Ratnapura districts. Accordingly, heavy showers above 100 mm are likely at some places in these areas. The weather alert further reads that prevailing showery condition in the southwestern part of the island is likely to continue further due to active southwest monsoon conditions over the island further. That ends Watchlight. Moving on to world news, let's take a look at the headlines. Nobel Prize 2023 in Physics awarded for research on electrons in flashes of light. Early voting begins in historic Australian referendum. Turkey detains 90 suspects after Ankara bomb attack. World news in detail. The 2023 Nobel Prize in Physics has been awarded to Pierre Augustini, French Croze, and Anne L. Hulier for creating flashes of light that are short enough to take snapshots of electrons, extremely rapid movements. The Royal Swedish Academy of Science announced this in Stockholm today. These physicists have demonstrated a way to create extremely short pulses of light that can be used to measure the rapid process in which electrons move or change energy. The laureates were praised for giving humanity new tools for exploring the world of electrons inside atoms and molecules. Australia has begun early voting in a landmark referendum on enacting an Indigenous voice to Parliament. If approved, the referendum would recognize Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people in the country's constitution and established a permanent body for them to advise the government. The country has not had a successful referendum in almost 50 years. Opinion polls had long shown support for the proposal, but as the vote nears, no side appears to be leading. Turkish police have detained at least 90 people with alleged links to Kurdish fighters 2 days after a suicide bomb attack in Turkey's capital Ankara, according to state media. Interior Minister of Turkey said earlier today that police carried out raids in 18 Turkish provinces in 2 separate operations, detaining people suspected for being part of the intelligence structure of the outlawed Kurdish Workers' Party. On Sunday, a suicide bomber detonated an explosive device near an entrance to the Turkish Ministry of Interior, hours after President Recep Tayyip Erdogan was set to address Parliament as it returned from its summer recess. To wrap up the world news, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nobel Prize 2023 in Physics awarded for research on electrons in flashes of light. Early voting begins in historic Australian referendum. Turkey detains 90 suspects after Ankara bomb attack. That ends world news.
Development news.
A program is implemented to popularize electric vehicles among the people, which is being implemented according to a concept of the Minister of Transport, Highways and Mass Media, Dr. Bandula Gunawardena. Speaking during a discussion in this regard, Minister Gunawardena said, Pitipana area of Homagama has been identified as the most suitable to develop under the concept of developing one selected village as a green village under the Ministry of Transport. In order to give the people a wide understanding about the use of electric vehicles, an exhibition on green vehicles has been organized in the Pitipana area on the 14th and 15th October with the participation of local designers. The main objective of this exhibition is to promote the use of electric vehicles as the only alternative to the increasing fuel problem. That came to you on Development News. Moving on to sports news, the Australian Open will become a 15-day event for the first time in 2024 in an attempt to reduce the number of late-night finishers at Melbourne Park. The tournament's scheduling was questioned in January after Andy Murray described his 4 a.m. finish as a farce. Now the Grand Slam has added a day and will start on Sunday, January 14th. A minimum of 2 matches will be scheduled for day sessions on the main courts rather than 3 to cut the risk of night sessions being delayed. Tournament director Craig Taylor expressed hope that this will deliver a solution to the minimized late finishes while continuing to provide a fair and equitable schedule on the stadium courts. That came to you on Sports News.
Go ekak thiyana youth ekata life ekේ change ekata niyamata set wenna as wahagena dakapu hina habe karanna youth ekata niyamata set wenna friendship ekata menna.
The all new NSB Ithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Butterwillow Plantations PLC marked a significant milestone in the country's agricultural landscape with the opening of its state-of-the-art cinnamon processing centre in Udagama Galle. Completed with an investment of 90 million rupees, this facility is one of the largest cinnamon processing centres in Sri Lanka, which operates under good manufacturing practices standards. The facility was opened by Butterwillow Plantations PLC Director Vish Govindaswamy. That is Business News.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak thiyana youth එකට ලයිෆ් එකේ චේන්ජ් එකට නියමෙට සෙට් වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හීන හැබැයි කරන්න යූත් එකට නියමෙට සෙට් වෙන ෆ්‍රෙන්ඩ්ෂිප් එක මෙන්න
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account. NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Moving on to economic news, Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena said that as a solution to the energy crisis prevailing in the country, a particular concern should be taken to convert solar power into electricity. Addressing the World Habitat Day event on Monday, he said that laying thousands of electric wires and spending millions of money to provide electricity to a colony in the remote area is no more needed, as they can be given power through solar panels. This year's World Habitat Day national event was organized by the Ministry of Urban Development and Housing under the theme A Safe Urban Economy. That ends economic news.
Weather report.
Showers or thundershowers will occur at times in the western, Sabaragamuwa, southern and northwestern provinces and in the Kandy and Nuwara districts. Fairly heavy showers above 75 mm can be expected at some places in western, Sabaragamuwa and southern provinces. Showers or thundershowers may occur at several places elsewhere, particularly in the eastern and Uva provinces during the evening or night. That ends with the report. To wrap up the evening news on Radio Sri Lanka, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Minister Dr. Bantula Gunawardena expresses hope that a positive response can be expected regarding this second tranche of the IMF bailout. Asian Development Bank is urged to initiate new projects on renewable energy, digitalization and public transport systems. The online safety bill was tabled in the Parliament. Over 1,000 household units will be built for the residents of the underprivileged settlements in the Western Province. A committee will be appointed to recommend an appropriate mechanism to prevent child begging. Foreign news, Nobel Prize 2023 in Physics awarded to a trio for research on electrons in flashes of light. Sports news, tennis. Australian Open Grand Slam extends to 15 days in bid to avoid late finishes. With that, we wrap up the evening news on Radio Sri Lanka. Back to my good friend and yours, Chandima Virakon.